A project manager walks into a steering committee meeting with a green status report. Every milestone is on track. Budget variance is within tolerance. The risk log has 3 items, all rated low. The exec sponsor scans the one-pager, the program director nods. Everyone in the room agrees. This project is under control. 6 weeks later, the project is in crisis. Delivery is 8 weeks behind. A critical vendor dependency that wasn't a risk has become the reason nothing can ship. And the team, the actual team, the developers, the analysts, the coordinators doing the work every day, they knew 4 months ago. So what happened between the team and that steering committee? That space, that gap, that layer of program managers, portfolio coordinators, governance reviewers, and process gatekeepers that sits between the people who know and the people who decide. That is the frozen middle, and it is the most common cause of project failure that the industry has never learned to talk about directly. Here is the official story of how project information is supposed to move. The team identifies a problem. They flag it to the project manager. The PM routes it through the appropriate governance channel. The steering committee receives the escalation. A decision is made. The project continues. Clean, logical, and almost entirely fictional in most organizations. What actually happens is this. The team flags a problem. The PM assesses it and decides it is manageable, meaning they believe they can absorb it without escalating. Because escalating has a cost. It signals that the project has a problem, and project managers who surface too many problems develop reputations, so they manage it internally. The problem doesn't get absorbed, it gets deferred, and deferred problems compound. 3 months later, the PM escalates, but now the issue is 5 times larger and the decision window is already closing. The steering committee receives a sanitized summary. They approve a recovery plan. The recovery plan is optimistic, and everyone goes back to their desks and resumes managing the performance of control rather than control itself. This is not a story about incompetent project managers. It is a story about systems that reliably produce bad behavior from perfectly capable people. In 2011, the UK Cabinet Office published an analysis of major government IT programs, not the ones that were cancelled, the ones that were actually delivered. Of the large programs that reached delivery, a significant portion had been rated green or amber green in their governance reports within 12 months of a major crisis event. The pattern was consistent across programs. Projects were green until they suddenly weren't. The transition from manageable to crisis was almost never a discrete event. It was a threshold moment where accumulated, invisible risk finally broke through the surface of the reporting layer. The researchers gave this a name: the confidence illusion. The reporting system was not measuring project health. It was measuring the confidence of the people doing the reporting. And those are not the same thing. NASA has studied the same pattern. After Columbia in 2003, the Accident Investigation Board found that safety concerns had been raised by engineers at lower levels of the organization. Those concerns traveled upward through management layers, and at each layer they were reframed, softened, contextualized by the time they reached decision makers. They had been transformed from safety-critical risks into engineering uncertainties that fell within acceptable parameters. The board's conclusion was damning. The organizational structure itself had filtered out the signal. The middle layer's program managers, directors, coordinators were not malicious. They were operating exactly as the system had trained them, absorbed uncertainty at the lowest level possible. Escalate only when unavoidable, maintain composure in the upward direction. The same dynamic appears in commercial delivery. A major analysis of large-scale IT transformations found that the single strongest predictor of program failure was not technical complexity or unclear requirements. It was decision latency, the time between when a critical issue was identified at team level and when an executive decision was actually made. Projects with long decision latency failed at dramatically higher rates. And decision latency was almost always caused by the same structural condition: a middle layer of governance that was processing information rather than transmitting it. Here is what most PM frameworks get wrong about this. They treat the frozen middle as a communication problem. Better status templates, clearer escalation criteria, training project managers to have difficult conversations, all of that has value. None of it reaches the actual failure. Because the frozen middle is not a communication problem. It is an incentive problem. Project managers suppress risk signals because the reward system of most organizations punishes visible problems and rewards visible control. Middle managers reframe risk information because their performance is measured on delivery metrics, not on information accuracy. Steering committees receive green reports and feel reassured because nobody in the system is specifically accountable for the quality of the reporting, only for the eventual outcome. You have built a governance structure that is optimized structurally, systematically optimized to produce the appearance of control rather than control itself. And the part that should concern you most? Every single layer in this chain is acting rationally given their incentives. The PM who does not escalate is protecting their relationship with the team and their reputation with leadership. The program director who softens the language is keeping the narrative coherent and the sponsor calm. The steering committee that does not ask hard questions is respecting the PM's professional judgment and staying in their lane. So what do you actually do with this? First, if you are a project manager, stop treating escalation as failure. Escalation is not evidence that you lost control. It is evidence that you have functioning real-time visibility into your own delivery. The PM who escalates early and often is not the weak link in the chain. They are the nervous system of the project. Protect that instinct. The system will push against it. Second, pressure test your own status reports against this question. Is this report measuring project health? Or is it measuring my confidence that I can handle the problems myself without surfacing them? Those are different questions. And the gap between them is precisely where projects die. Third, if you are leading a program or sitting on a steering committee, your job is not to receive green reports. Your job is to create conditions where people can give you accurate ones. That means making escalation safe. It means rewarding early warning over late crisis management. It means asking structurally different questions. Not "Are we on track?" which is an invitation to perform, but what is the thing you are most worried about that is not on this report, which is a request for intelligence. The frozen middle thaws when the people in the middle stop being processed and start being trusted. When the system rewards honesty more than it rewards composure. When the distance between what the delivery team knows and what leadership has been told is treated as a critical project risk, not as a natural and acceptable feature of hierarchy. Most organizations will never fix this. They will keep building new governance frameworks around the problem and calling the framework the solution. But you are watching this, which means you already know something is wrong with the model, and that is where it starts. If this changed how you think about project governance, the next video goes straight to the question nobody asks in steering committees, and why that silence is costing you more than any missed deadline ever could.